Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Dr. Heena, Rachh. And I'll be meeting you every week with my episodes High Tea with Heena, which comprises of various life events, life series, teaching, learning, life skills and whatnot. Do subscribe to my channel and do not forget to hit the bell button so that whenever I post a new video, you get notified.
Hello and welcome to High Tea with Heena. This is Ramandeep, your host and host, and we have with us Dr. Heena Raj, an educator, a sports enthusiast, a seeker, a visionary and a great motivational speaker. Hello ma'am.
Hello dear, how are you?
Absolutely fine.
All
I'm used to
good?
that.
Good, always good. Be happy no matter what, that's my mantra.
Exactly. So today's question is on the teachers actually. A teacher plays a very important role in the student's life. So teacher not only teaches actually, but it brings out the skills, the best skills out of the student. So in your opinion, what are the personality traits for an effective teacher?
Oh, that's a wonderful question and close to my heart because when I'm being introduced, all those introduction, if I have to introduce myself, it would be only one sentence and that is I am teacher. I'm the teacher because I was always passionate about it. I'm a teacher by choice and 3 decades in the field of education. Definitely I would like to tell about from my experiences what a good teacher is. If the very first thing is that engaging personality of the teacher and the teaching style, definitely. When we talk about personality, we should understand what do we mean by personality. We are not talking about the external personality, but we are talking personality as wholesome, not how he or she looks, but what are the traits, what are the attributes, how passionate, how empathetic, how sympathetic. So this all traits, values make your personality, and that is where the teacher has to have an engaging personality to hold the attention of the class for all the discussions. And the teaching style. When I go, students should recognize, oh, she has come, it would be like this, a kind of a teaching style which would be, engaging the attention of the students. Important aspect is the learning objectives. When I go for 40 minutes in a classroom, I have to be very clear with my objectives, and not only I have to be clear, I have to make children also clear. So that is important that children also know that what am I going to learn in this 40 minutes because it has to match the learning outcome. So at the end of the 40 minutes, whether I have made the objectives in the beginning very clear and whether I have met the learning outcomes. So that's important.
So ma'am, would you consider discipline also one of the personality traits in the teacher?
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, but one thing is that discipline shouldn't be, taken as a punishment. I mean, the term discipline, and we think about harsh, some disciplining measures. No, we are not talking about, because that's a skill, how to get children disciplined in the classroom, and that's very important. See, if there are unruly children in the class behaving the way they want it, you can't teach in such a classroom. So that is a skill, that how do I discipline? Again, your engaging personality or your teaching style, everything would matter, and your clear objectives, whether what you are expecting out of the children, and if that is set. So disciplining, of course, is an important aspect in a classroom because it changes the entire environment of the classroom. It has to be very conducive, very positive environment. So that is important, and good classroom management skills. Because if you want to have the good behavior from children, or you want a positive environment, the work habits, overall that's a sense of respect for each other as well as for the teacher and the learning and the teaching. So good classroom management skills. That what are those skills? Again, could be one more episode with you, Ramandeep. I would like to talk about what could be the classroom management skills, or how teacher can implement it in management of the classroom. But here, of course, that person is a good teacher who has all those skills. uh, Important another point is that uh, communication with parents. Now, what do you mean by communication with parents? Some of the schools, like I have been there, where we used to have home visits. So I don't know if you are aware about those home visits, but the teacher, if I had 30 children in my classroom, I would have a roster where I would once in a year or once in a term, ideally, but once in a year at least, I'll go and visit the students. Now, trust me, it works wonders, because no, you cannot pretend when you go to the home of that child, parents, how you will gauge what kind of environment the child comes from. Because whatever you feel that in 1 hour they can pretend, but no, you teachers have got those piercing eyes where you can find out. And apart from, and when you understand where the child comes from, you will be able to understand the child in the classroom as well, and you will be able to communicate. That there's a personal touch with the parents, so you'll be able to tell how the child is doing in the class, or why he's doing, where he's doing, what is doing, what are his friends. So that kind of communication is very, very important. In case you cannot make a home visit, phone calls nowadays with this COVID has in fact metamorphosized the education. We never thought Google Classrooms always existed. Webinars always existed, but we never used it to the optimum. Now we are using it. So now a parent is only a phone call away. So it always is good to have a good communication. So that is good for the child's health also, that child knows that parent and teachers are on the same page.
Exactly, ma'am. Actually, what happens, some parents do not get the time and they have a very hectic schedule. So when the teacher manages the time and visits their home, so it creates a very nice image of a teacher in front of the parents, I guess.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's what I said. If you can visit home, wonderful. Otherwise, you are just a phone call away. Now your Zoom calls and visit, so you can have Zoom meetings, you can have video calls, you can have chats, and that's very important way to keep connected to the parents. And that's very important, that child will not be able to play between home and school. He knows that they are all on the same page. And basically, what is our purpose is man making. Our common interest is our child, isn't it? For the parent, he is the only universe. She is the only universe. Of course, for us, there are many universes all together in one classroom. And more importantly, teachers' knowledge, curriculum standards, all said and done. I may do 1,000 things to please a child, but unless and until my knowledge base is not set, and I don't stand on firm grounds as far as my subject knowledge is concerned, nothing will work. Everything will fail, because especially in higher grades, younger kids also see, but you cannot even underestimate. Even a grade 1 child will understand whether my teacher knows the subject or not. Now you might feel that that's too much, but no, I tell you, in my 30 years, initially they might go by your external looks, or they might go by your approach or something, but finally they'll understand whether how much knowledge. And in higher grades, it's very important, 9, 10, 11, 12, when you are talking to them, it's very important that the teacher has the knowledge of the subject. And finally, it all boils down to the passion. How passionate I am for children and for teaching. As I say, that if you happen to be into the teaching profession by choice, wonderful. If not, you need to get there. Now that you have made that your profession, you have to be passionate about children, about teaching. In fact, when sometimes parents say that, he'll listen to the teacher. Now, I know it's too much of a burden on the teacher's shoulders, because you have to be all the time, you're carrying that kind of responsibility. But I tell you, in my personal experience, it's not to quote anything personal, but I remember that this is like, I must say, 15, 20 years back story, but it has got imprinted in my mind so much so that when the child was in grade 12 and she writes in the slam book for me that you are the only Bible I read. And I was like, oh, that is the kind of responsibility on my shoulders. that you are the only Bible I read. I became very, very reflective later on, that this is something amazing, but it gets you into a very, very responsible position where somebody is a role model. You know, somebody is influenced by your personality so much. And if you are a role model, you have to be very, very, cautious about the whole thing. More than privilege, it is a responsibility which the teacher needs to understand.
Because if someone starts following us, then we have to be much more cautious and
Exactly. Because sometimes we feel that in the evening when I go in the market, come on, I'm not a teacher there. I'm also a normal human being when I go to Lulu Mall, and I also want to be. But no, somebody is watching you. So you are carrying the school everywhere. So you can't do away with that. Whether you are in school, outside school, for the child you are a role model. So of course a little additional responsibility, but you can't help it. And as I say that the topping, icing on the cake is strong rapport with students. And that would come, how will you build that strong rapport? Unless and until I love my profession, I love my children, I'm passionate about my job or my children or the parents, I'll not be able to build that rapport. So that is very important, that I build a strong rapport with children and have a trusting relationship. So I think if a teacher is like this, it would be creating ripples and impacts, because they say that the influence of a teacher lasts forever. It's still the eternity. It doesn't stop. You never know where the influence of the teacher stops. So that's it.
sometimes it happens that this teacher is sometimes somewhere he's strict, and some teachers are like kids loving. So what kind of behavior it should be like? He should be strict or he should be kids loving? He should be polite?
So there is no one size fits all, and every time I cannot be strict, every time I cannot be loving. So it is situational leadership. So it's situational leadership. It cannot be that, I'm strict, so every time I have to be strict all the time, or if I'm loving. It depends. Today, if you have done something which needs to be questioned, though I'm very loving and affectionate, but I cannot take you for granted that way. So a teacher cannot be taken for granted, for the simple reason that you want to discipline the child. You are not punishing the child, you are punishing the behavior. So it is all, sometimes you have to be democratic, sometimes dictatorial, sometimes benevolent dictatorial democracy. So there are different kind of roles in one, all in one. So sometimes, you have to be a very situational kind of a leader in the classroom.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm sure that the teachers will definitely adopt these traits in their life.
Thank you so much.
So this is Ramandeep, your host and those signing off for today. We'll see you in the next episode of High Tea with Heena.